If you want to know how to start a podcast on Spotify, you are at the right place. We have got the best methods to do it. Welcome back to Silicophilic, your go-to source for tech tips and fixes. Method 1. Select a podcast topic. When choosing a podcast topic, you need to ask yourself one simple question. What do you enjoy discussing? Consider a time when you were most content, joyful, or delighted, and use it as a starting point for your response to this question. If you are not sure where to start, try these 2 podcast ideas to get your creative juices flowing. See Spotify's post with suggestions for podcast topics from 4 seasoned makers and allow them to direct your preliminary steps. Search for popular podcast subjects related to your wider interests. This can assist you in producing timely and relevant material and serve as a source of inspiration in case you are going through a creative block. Method 2. Choose a podcasting format. Selecting the best podcast format for you is crucial, as there are numerous options available. Consider the following questions for yourself. Do I see myself doing podcasts on my own, with friends, or perhaps with multiple co-hosts? Do I want to speak with visitors who are experts in particular fields? Do I want to create my own imaginary universe or discuss reality? While all of these factors are important to take into account here, Spotify's comprehensive guide to podcasts formats allow you to go much further. Additionally, there are lots of methods to find inspiration for a distinctive video podcast while you are behind the camera. Method 3. Name your podcast. A key component of your brand is the name of your podcast. It establishes the tone for your podcast and leaves a lasting impact on listeners. The following qualities should be included in podcast names: precise and brief, accessible, enduring in the same way as your brand or company name. Once you have decided on a title, make sure the social media accounts and domains are available by running it through a podcast name checker. Additionally, you should avoid using the name of another podcast. Method 4. Schedule for publishing podcasts. You can work as a podcaster full-time or as a side gig. You may choose to release content every day or, like serial, every 2 years. To establish a rapport with readers and foster the habit of generating regular content, we advise publishing once a week. The most typical publishing frequencies are as follows: 0 to 2 days, that is 7%, 3 to 7 days, 36%, 8 to 14 days, 39%, 15 to 29 days, 17%, more than 30 days, 1%. Method 5. Set up the equipment for recording podcasts. You need a good mic first as the prime equipment of your podcast. Before purchasing your first podcast microphone, take into account these points. Top mic recommendations: Samsung Q2U $70, PodMic $100, Shure SM7B $400. Method 6. Select the podcasting software. It's time to edit your podcast after it has been recorded. Here is where you can organize your show and make the most out of the sounds. Thankfully, podcast editing software is frequently inexpensive. Method 7. Make a recording of your debut episode. You should prepare a little ahead of time for recording your episode. To position yourself for success, adhere to these 3 stages. Create an outline for a podcast. Decide where to record well. Configure your program and recording hardware. Method 8. Make audio edits. The main purpose of podcast editing are audio polishing and minor structural adjustments. Aim to simplify the procedure. Overemphasizing productivity will lead to overwhelm. Use these 4 suggestions to make your editing process more efficient. Write a captivating opening and closing. Prioritize content editing above distractions. To eliminate unnecessary noise, fade in between tracks. Establish a punch list. Method 9. Make artwork for podcasts. Potential listeners see your podcast cover art first on podcasts and on social media. Excellent cover art suggests high quality content, and 62% of new listeners are more inclined to check out a podcast if they enjoy the artwork. You can use the following design tools for this artwork: Buzzsprout's Canva integration, Adobe Create Cloud Express, Fiverr, 99 Designs. Method 10. Create a podcast hosting account. To make it possible for listeners to find your podcasts in directories like Apple Podcasts, a podcast hosting provider such as Buzzsprout stores your audio files and distributes them to podcast platforms. Method 11. Start and expand your program. You have two choices for when it comes to time to release your podcast. Select the option that most resonates with you. First option, the grand opening. Building anticipations for your performance ahead of time is known as a grand opening. This is how most podcasters who already have a huge fan base go about things. Second tactic, the soft open. More covert is a gentle open. By using this approach, you release episodes as they are being heard, but you don't immediately advertise them. Method 12. Think about who your podcast's audience is and how you can reach them. The first step in creating a devoted following of listeners who will interact with you and your show is defining your ideal audience. So think about it, your specialty, the types of individuals who might be drawn to reading about it, how best to approach them. For an in-depth guide about the early stages of finding potential listeners, check out Spotify's resource on how to discover your podcast target audience. And there you have it. These 12 solutions help you to know how to start a podcast on every day. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tips and troubleshooting guides. Leave a comment and help others know which solution solved your problem. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.